So, good afternoon. My name is Lacey Crawford, Communications Director for Social Security Works. Thank you for joining the call today. Nancy Altman, Co-Director of Social Security Works, will be moderating today. Senator Sherrod Brown has to jump off the call shortly, so after his remarks, we're going to jump to Q&A, so any reporters on the call can press *6 in order to be placed in the queue. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Nancy.
Lacey, thank you so much. And then we have two other speakers after Senator Brown, so after a short Q&A with him, we'll have those speakers, and then we'll have more questions after that as well. As you all know, this year marks the 80th anniversary of the enactment of Social Security and the 50th anniversary of the enactment of Medicare and Medicaid. Yet, although those programs have stood the test of time, they are under withering attack. Even just today, there's a House budget resolution that's been reported to have voucherizing Medicare, block granting Medicaid, and another provision which seems technical but is by no means technical. It's one that we will be speaking about on this call, and what it does is it discriminates against the most vulnerable among us, those with disabilities who are seeking to return to work. Fortunately, although we have withering attack on these programs, we have important champions. One of the leading champions is on this call. We're delighted and honored to have Senator Sherrod Brown of Ohio, who has been a tireless fighter for these programs and for the economic security of the American people. He has got a crucial position as ranking member on the Social Security Pensions and Family Policy Subcommittee of the Finance Committee. So that is the committee that has jurisdiction over all three of these programs. So with that, Senator Brown.
Thank you, Nancy, and thanks for the work that you do and that Social Security Works do, and thanks too for the Alliance for Retired Americans and the ARC for being here. There's a new attack today on Social Security. It's cutting benefits to disabled workers using Social Security disability insurance as a backdoor to go after the entire Social Security program. People who don't much like social insurance, politicians who have, whenever they've had the chance, go after Social Security. It may have been a decade ago in the Bush years with their private accounts, and today they know that going after old age benefits for Social Security is politically dangerous for them, so they sort of backdoor this by going after Social Security disability insurance. Most people associate, I think most voters, most citizens, most seniors, most people generally associate Social Security as a benefit for seniors, but 1/3 of Social Security beneficiaries are not retirees. 9 million Americans with disabilities are SSDI beneficiaries. Now, new misguided proposals would eliminate benefits for Americans receiving SSDI and unemployment insurance. The Social Security Act encourages SSDI beneficiaries to try to work, to attempt to work. If those workers with disabilities earning modest wages are laid off, they should be able to do what everybody else does, claim unemployment insurance, just because they've been paying into unemployment insurance. Unemployment insurance, like Social Security, like Medicare, is a social insurance program. They pay in. Regardless of their status, they ought to be able to get the insurance benefit which they've paid for. They should not lose disability income, their only remaining income. Less than 1%, fewer than 1% of workers on SSDI and UI receive both benefits, fewer than 1%. These extremely modest benefits are a lifeline to those workers and their families. This change would make workers with disabilities second-class citizens, putting them in a whole new category that's not what we value as Americans. The only citizens who pay taxes into the system to finance UI, who are then banned from receiving the benefits if they lose their jobs. Again, I just reiterate, they've paid in to this social insurance program that's been around for decades, unemployment insurance, and they should receive the benefit. This proposal, pure and simple, is a cut to benefits. It's that simple. People who support this proposal have to explain why they support cutting Social Security benefits. There is no argument about this is a cut in Social Security benefits. Just as importantly, this contradicts what I always assumed was one of the key goals of disability insurance, to help workers get back into the workforce. we found many ways in our society to reward work. One of them is the Earned Income Tax Credit. Another one is disability and unemployment and all of this working together. We want people to work if they can. Just as we know what this ultimately is really about. The privatizers and the profiteers who want to cut Social Security, who want to get Wall Street in on the act, are attempting to use disability insurance as a wedge point to make larger cuts to the entire program. We can't let that happen. That's why I've joined the Consortium for Citizens with Disabilities. More than 70 national organizations, some represented on this call, more than 70 national organizations in vowing to fight these attacks. I'll turn it over to Nancy. So thank you all for joining us.
Thank you so much, Senator. And Lacey, I think now because Senator's time is limited, open it up to questions, but if TJ or Lisa, you want to answer, that's fine.
All right, so for any reporters on the line, if you'd like to ask the Senator or any our panelists any questions, please press *6 now to be placed in the queue. So with that, we're going to allow some questions to queue up.
Yeah, this is Peter Callahan. I'm a producer of the Zero Hour with RJ Escow, and I was wondering how these bills would affect the health of the trust fund.
These are
it's generally pretty modest. I mean, we have. I mean, start with the whole reallocation issue. Congress, I believe, 11 times in the last number of decades has moved the money reallocated from one to the other. Not always the same direction. Sometimes from old age benefits to disability. Other times disability to old age benefits. This was not at all unpredicted, if you will, for making up a term. This was not unexpected. The trustees have said for some years that it would be around 2015 or 16 or 17 at the latest that we would need this reallocation. Congress, in the days that they did things bipartisanly on some of these issues, would do it with little controversy and even less demagoguery. Today, some in Congress are using it as a way to backdoor attack Social Security and try to pit disabled workers against retirees. That's the game that a number of them want to play, saying if we reallocate, then it's going to shorten the life of the trust fund so much that seniors will lose their benefits, which simply isn't true. Again, there's precedent, bipartisan precedent, for doing this for decades.
And if I can add this, Nancy Altman, as Senator Brown said, this affects a relatively few people, this UIDI proposal, but it is vital to those it affects. In fact, the acting commissioner, Carolyn Colvin, when speaking about cuts to these people who receive Social Security, she labeled it a death sentence. So why don't we now turn to our other two speakers, but those who are on the line who have additional questions, we will have another question session at the end of the next two speakers. We are really fortunate to have
Nancy, I want anybody that has more questions for me too. Just please call my office. But thanks to all of you for doing this, and Nancy and Rich and TJ, thanks so much.
And Senator Brown, thank you so much for your leadership. So we'll now turn to TJ Sutcliffe, who is as expert on this issue as anyone around. She is the Director of Income and Housing Policy for the ARC. TJ?
Thank you so much, Nancy. I really want to thank Senator Brown for being a champion for Social Security and for standing up with us today to oppose this harmful benefit cut, and to thank Social Security Works and the Alliance for Retired Americans, as well as the over 70 national organizations who have joined us in signing on to the letter that we are releasing today. I want to make just three really brief points that are going to underscore some of the remarks that Senator Brown made. First, I want to highlight the proposals to cut or eliminate concurrent Social Security disability insurance and unemployment insurance benefits really represent a fundamental misunderstanding of the nature and purpose of these two vital insurance systems. SSDI and unemployment insurance are separate programs created for very different purposes. Workers and their employers pay for this insurance, and it's both legal and appropriate for a qualified worker to receive benefits under both systems. Second, the benefits that people receive from SSDI and unemployment insurance concurrently are extremely modest. On average, those concurrent benefits are only about $1,100 per month total from both programs. Any cuts to these incredibly modest benefits can only harm the economic security of SSDI beneficiaries and their families. Third and finally, I want to reiterate the point that proposed cuts to concurrent SSDI and unemployment insurance benefits would create new work and disincentives within the SSDI program, and this would run directly counter to decades of bipartisan congressional policy seeking to provide opportunities for SSDI beneficiaries who want to test their ability to return to work to be able to do so if possible. This sends exactly the wrong signal to SSDI beneficiaries who are hoping to attempt to return to work and need support and encouragement in order to do so. Thank you so much, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, TJ. And our next speaker is Lisa Cutler, Communications Director of Alliance for Retired Americans. I should say that both the ARC and the Alliance for Retired Americans are crucial parts of our steering committee and our coalition. Lisa has been tireless in educating seniors, because part of the tactic of the other side is to divide and conquer and to convince seniors that they somehow are being preyed upon by people with disabilities, which of course is ludicrous on its face. So Lisa, with that.
Thanks so much, Nancy. The Alliance for Retired Americans represents 4.3 million people and has members in all 50 states. And quite frankly, our members they're angered by this attempt to weaken the Social Security system and pit one group of Social Security beneficiaries against each other. They can see through this tactic. Most of our members have been able to work until they reach full retirement age, but others have needed to rely on the disability system over the years for a short period of time or until they reach full benefits. And they see that it is a system that is strong and needs to be there throughout someone's work history. The Alliance members have been already active on this. We were at the last congressional recess. We visited more than 150 offices, and they are getting ready to go back in and greet these members when they go home in early April to let them know what the impact of this is, that they're not going to stand for these sorts of tactics, and they're going to hold members of Congress who support these measures accountable. Thank you.
Thank you. This is a very clear statement that, and we appreciate all the press who cover this, because it's important to get this vital word out. So with that, Lacey, if there are other questions?
Sure. So I'd like to remind any reporters on the phone, you can press *6 now to be placed in the queue, and then from there you can follow the prompt. So Nancy, we're just going to wait a couple moments to see if there are any more questions.
Great.
All right. There are no more questions. So go
ahead.
And
before we end, we maybe just want to emphasize, because we didn't quite say it forcefully enough, TJ, there is a letter that is being released today on this issue.
Yeah, absolutely. And that letter will be available both on the Social Security Works website as well as the CCD website, and we'll have links for that.
So if reporters see that and have questions, they can call anyone on this call. So with that, we conclude this. Thank you so much, TJ and Lisa, for taking the time to be part of this call.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.